Hey, good morning. So, good morning. So here we have a new article, um, possibly my last article, to explain the reasoning behind my current artivist campaign and the Dalgety BayCOTT. And then I can go back to my work, possibly. There we go. So this article has the same title of the artivist campaign, which is WOWS don't grow on trees, garbage and clutter do. And the subtitle is 10 years of WOW taken for granted, 2 months of trash stolen the spotlight, a paradox of hypocrisy, passivity, and neglected rights. Bark Park was born nearly 10 years ago with the creation of my woody mammoth. For the first 5 years and 2 months, from April 2015 to June 2020, there was only enthusiasm, and I mean from the community, the media, and even the council, the authorities. During those years, I never once complained. I wasn't happy, but I never once complained. For 9 years and 4 months, that's almost 10 years, up to a couple of months ago, from April 2015 to August 2024, a couple of months ago, the council itself showed enthusiasm, a kind of tacit, even willfully blind enthusiasm, overlooking any potential risks or issues. Despite the oversized, unconventional nature of these wows, like the first woody mammoth, quite large, the giant tarantula, very large, and climbing up the tree, or the pirate nest, not even mentioned, and more, the authorities turned a blind eye, one eye captivated by the phenomenon of Bark Park, and the other willfully blind to its risks. While one eye admired Bark Park as a cultural experiment, the other ignored the need to protect it as a cultural experience. For 9 years and 4 months, my installations, made of seasoned wood, a perfect fire risk, grew in number without any interference at all. Ironically, 2 months into the Bark Park's Dalgety Bay, media criticism fixated on the fire hazard of trash, conveniently overlooking the identical risks posed by wooden wows over the past decade. Perhaps one eye had always admired the spectacle, while the other remained willfully blind until trash demanded a different kind of attention. For 9 years and 4 months, the lack of official action made it seem like Bark Park was not just allowed, but encouraged. No media criticism, no council interventions, no community opposition. no sign of dissent. This tacit and blind enthusiasm led to Bar Park to grow as a cultural experiment, an open-air private gallery, a home museum, or as I call it, a busker home, trying to make money as well, filled with WOWS, the home of a busker inventor, that's me, my title. But it was still a residential home. Behind this apparent success lay a darker truth. I trusted that universal rights, well established and fundamental rights, what I refer to as the quadruple rights, at least 4 of them. I trusted that they would protect my bar park, my museum home, my home, like the 4 walls of a fortress. Instead, they were being eroded before my eyes. As a resident, I lost my right to privacy, a fundamental human right protected under Article 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And we're not talking about digital online privacy, the one that everyone gives out for free. I'm talking about the real privacy in the real world, like Bar Park is real, is not digital. Second right, as a living author, my intellectual property was plundered. This right recognized under Article 27, that's my age, of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, protects the creators, the authors, moral and material interests. And the third, as a creator of a busker home in a town of cookie-cutter houses, I face discrimination against my right to diversity, a right vital to human dignity and social harmony. As an inventor, I was denied the right to pursue an alternative economic model to make a living, my busker home model, a right safeguarded by Article 23 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Well, this erosion grew in parallel with Bar Park's popularity. I worked tirelessly, adding one wow after another to Bar Park, each new creation drawing in more visitors. The media too amplified Bar Park's allure, focusing on the spectacle rather than the deeper issues. Their coverage, perhaps driven by the idea that all publicity is good publicity, in my case it was free publicity, encouraged this erosion by failing to remind readers of the need to respect, at the very least, Bar Park's status as a private residence. Despite these wows being created within my gardens, visitors discovered they could enjoy them simply by gathering around my busker home, much like an audience encircling a busker performing on a high street, without needing to step onto the busker center stage. But unlike the busker on the roam, there was one key difference at my home. My show didn't need to go to the audience like I do in the weekends, or I used to do in the weekends, bringing Haggis, the mascot of the Bark Park, to the tourists of Edinburgh. The audience here at Bark Park came to my show, to my home, surrounding my busker home from all directions, day and night, eroding my fundamental quadruple rights. While this audience came to my show, to my home, for 10 years, they systematically invaded my privacy, plundered my intellectual property, disregarded my diversity, and felt no obligation to contribute. My work and my home were left unrecognized, unsupported, exploited, violated, and ultimately disrespected, treated like trash. The same trash now used in protest to protect my home and my WOWS, repel disrespect, stop the discrimination, and boycott Bark Park, the Dalgety BayCOTT, as I call it. What was once a park of WOWS, crafted mostly from recycled materials, is now protesting as a park of trash, made largely of recyclable items. And now, a reworking of a popular maxim, a reworking of mine. The popular maxim says, if you cannot bring the audience to the show, bring the show to the audience, which is what I was doing on the weekends. But I reworked this maxim, and for Bark Park, for the Bark Park experience, I rephrased it as, if you can bring the audience to the show, and the audience trashes your show, trash the show to the audience. I repeated, if you can bring the audience to the show, and the audience trashes your show, trash the show to the audience. After nearly a decade of uninvited audiences arriving without notice, peering into my home, enjoying my work, and ignoring my model for sustaining it, they left my show as trash. So I responded in kind. Trash I get, trash you get. Bark Park is neither a cookie factory or a cookie cutter house. Bark Park is a wow factory, and wows don't grow on trees, nor do they come out of cookie cutters. The council's planning enforcement officers, tasked with ensuring public safety, had the opportunity to protect Bark Park. Instead, they opted for a kind of willful neglect, a conscious decision not to intervene, seemingly guided, like everyone else, by their fascination with the installations that were far from trash, far from the trash that the ongoing Dalgety BayCOTT is now covering them with in protest. These wows were possibly seen as a kind of phenomenon they were unprepared to handle. So they let Bark Park grow freely, as if it were just a cultural experiment. unaware that it would reveal itself instead as a genuine cultural experience, a cultural phenomenon. They could have taken action to support Bark Park's safe integration into both the environment and the community. This might have meant enforcing planning regulations, ensuring structural stability, or providing safety measures to prevent potential hazards. But they did nothing, leaving the installations vulnerable to environmental risks, fire, extreme weather, or structural instability. Yet, one of the gravest risks didn't arise from any of these environmental threats, but from the lack of social oversight. Barper faced a continuous influx of free riders, clandestine visitors, and public stalkers, undermining the community's respect for Bar Park and turning it into an open ground for intrusion. This tacit endorsement allowed perfect strangers to repeatedly invade my home, disregarding my rights to privacy, intellectual property, diversity, and livelihood as a busker and an inventor. In the end, the inaction of the authorities enabled a different kind of erosion, one that endangered the very foundation of my quadruple rights. After 5 years and 2 months of tacit approval and passive endorsement, I began to raise concerns, initiating a long period of strikes and activist campaigns to highlight these infringements. The first protest, WOWS on strike, launched in July 2020, lasted only a couple of weeks, maybe 3, and made light use of garbage and clutter, just like the current one. It was later followed in 2023 by the activist campaign titled Pay the Piper since 1284, a clear nod to the Pied Piper of Hamelin, the legend, though neither action led to meaningful change in social attitudes toward Bar Park. For over 4 years, the past 4 years, beginning in July 2020 and culminating in my most recent activists campaign titled WOWS Don't Grow on Trees, Garbage and Clutter Do, specifically through the Dalgety BayCOTT boycott, my protests have faced significant backlash. If the authorities, the council, the police, and whoever had been proactive rather than willfully neglectful, they could have helped safeguard Bar Park by addressing its unique needs and protecting my rights instead of letting issues accumulate. As the council, community and media unite to condemn just 2 months worth of trash, they continue to ignore an interminable decade of injustices and infringements, a revealing mix of indifference and hypocrisy, enjoying a decade of wows while disregarding my struggles for respect. If my home was treated as a public museum rather than being respected as a private busker home, it should have been protected as such. If the public insists and insisted on treating this private residence as public domain, I deserve safeguarding by the authorities, who failed in their duty to protect the privacy, the intellectual property, the diversity, and the livelihood that underlie my work and my home. If this is true, then to the quadruple rights we must add a fifth right: the right of a private home treated as public domain, treated as a public domain free museum, to be respected and above all protected by public authorities. The Dalgety BayCOTT is about demanding respect for rights that are already enshrined, universal rights that should be recognized, protected, and most importantly, enforced. This boycotting protest calls for recognition of the five fundamental rights of private open-air busker homes or museum homes, standing against the discrimination of these rare minority spaces in neighborhoods of cookie-cutter houses. Inspired by the spirit of the Montgomery bus boycott, which lasted 381 days, to secure basic rights for African Americans, this boycott, the Dalgety BayCOTT, also stands as a fight for civil rights for buskers and the homes they create and live in. If buskers can't find respect at home, how can they expect it on the roam? Respect starts at home, where identity need not hide. Bark Parks spark, like Rosa Parks, will ignite a change in how busker homes are treated and respected. This movement echoes the courage of the Stonewall Uprising, encouraging other busker homes to come out of the closet and claim the protection they deserve without having to hide their identities to gain respect. These sacred spaces merit the same safeguards from disrespect, violations, exploitation, disregards, and discrimination. The activist campaign WOWS Don't Grow on Trees, Garbage and Clutter Do, and the Dalgety BayCOTT boycott will continue until there is a clear foundation of respect and understanding for Bark Park's quadruple rights and for any other busker homes to come in Dalgety Bay and beyond. And rest assured, when this change comes, though it may take longer than 381 days of Montgomery bus boycott, Bark Park won't stand alone. Other busker homes will sprout like mushrooms, finally free to come out of the closet and thrive in their true identities in the open air, showcasing their creations in gardens, no longer forced to hide in closets or under piles of trash like Bark Park is currently. A final word of mouth. Busker homes are not free for all. Respecting Bark Park means supporting it. Don't turn a blind eye to Barpar's QR codes for tips. Here's a tip. Tit for tat. Tip for trash. For every free rider ignoring the tip busker model, another piece of trash joins the park. The creator of Bark Park, and now the whole neighborhood, are watching. Bark Park is no longer alone. My neighborhood is protecting their local busker home. The prestige of the neighborhood and of this town. Thank you for your attention. Speak to you soon. If not, take care. Goodbye. Bye bye.